Welcome to our new video. This is the Karcher FC 7 cordless. We reviewed this hard floor cleaner for you, and we'll tell you all about our results in this video. So just stay tuned. Here we go. Let's get started with the Karcher FC 7. Before we get to the practical stuff, we'll give you an overview of the product in our features and technology section. The FC7 is a cleaning device that can be used on various hard floors, such as tiles, parquet, laminate, PVC, or vinyl. However, to avoid any nasty surprises, you should make sure that the floor is water-resistant and sealed. The device uses a lithium-ion battery as its power source, which offers a fairly long runtime of approximately 45 minutes. In addition, the charging time of 4 hours is not too long compared to other devices, so you can recharge the battery relatively quick. The battery status can also be monitored via a 3-stage LED display. As far as the scope of delivery is concerned, the FC7 comes with functional equipment and leaves out the frills. The focus is of course on the appliance itself. It comes with a set of 4 cleaning rollers as well as 2 tanks. Remo shows us exactly where to find all of this later on. Additionally, there is also the parking and cleaning station, a trial bottle of cleaning solution, the obligatory power supply, and some paperwork on top. The only difference to the smaller FC models is that a cleaning tool is also included. In terms of features, the FC7 offers a few more conveniences in line with its price range than it is the case with many competing hard floor cleaners. First of all, the appliance has a function to stand on its own, which is particularly important for storage and when you want to take a break. The FC7 also has several cleaning stages and offers a great deal of maneuverability and flexibility thanks to its special design. In addition, the FC7 can carry out some type of self-cleaning with the aforementioned cleaning station and offers a comprehensive cleaning procedure to make your everyday life with it much easier. However, we will take a closer look at whether this works later in the video. By the way, you can find the link to the Karcher FC7 below the video in the description, and if the video was helpful to you, please leave us a like and subscribe to our channel. Alright, now I'm sitting here at the table with the Karcher FC7. First, I would like to talk about 2 important questions. The first question is, what can this hard floor cleaner actually do? And here we have to clarify that the FC7 is the most powerful hard floor cleaner we've seen so far, and is even capable of competing with one or the other wet and dry vacuum cleaner. In addition to liquids and light soiling, this appliance even picks up coarse soiling with solid particles. And the second question I would like to answer is, how does a hard floor cleaner actually work? And it has to be said quite clearly, hard floor cleaners and wet and dry vacuum cleaners work in pretty much the same way. The reason is the 2-tank system used. There is tank number 1 on the back of the appliance, the fresh water tank. It can be easily removed by opening this cap, fill it up, close it again, and then reinsert the fresh water tank. When you now put the appliance into operation, fresh water is taken from this tank, delivered down to the cleaning rollers, and the dirt is then picked up and fed into tank number 2. The difference in the end is quite simple. With a hard floor cleaner, the whole thing works purely mechanically, whereas with a vacuum mop, the word says it all. When the tank is full, it is simply removed from the appliance by pressing the button on this side. You simply lift the appliance up, put it aside, and the tank remains in place. You can now take the dirty tank to the sink, toilet, or wherever you might prefer, and empty it there. Maybe clean it if necessary. When you are done, just reinsert it by putting the cleaner on top of the tank. If you want to continue working, you better check if the fresh water tank still has enough water. Otherwise, just fill it up quickly and you're ready to go. Yes, that sounds good at first, but does the system deliver what it promises? We took a very close look at this in our upcoming practical test. Now we will see what this thing can do. Let's start with the first part of our practical test, namely, cleaning performance. We want to start with the same test that we also did with the wet and dry vacuum cleaners. Of course, we are aware that the FC7 is not a wet and dry vacuum cleaner, but as Remo has already said, it is one of the more powerful appliances we've seen. So that's why we want to explore the limits of the cleaner for you and see how far you can go with the appliance. Now then, we shall start with level 1, dry and liquid dirt. On the right we see cappuccino powder, and on the left we have some sprinkles. The powder is no problem. and can be picked up in just a few swipes. The sprinkles, on the other hand, are not defeated as easily. Instead, they are shot forward by the rollers. However, if you keep at it, you will manage to pick up most of the sprinkles over time. So it's basically doable. A load of juice on the floor, on the other hand, suits the FC7 a little better. Just go over it once or twice and that's it. The bottom line is, level 1, done. Let's now combine dry and liquid dirt and move on to level 2, viscous liquids and sauces. Yogurt, ketchup, and applesauce are a little more difficult to pick up. Nevertheless, the FC7 does surprisingly well here. You can see how a streak of dirt remains in the middle between the rollers, but with a few more corrective strokes, this is also done quickly. So, level 2, done. Now it's getting interesting. Level 3, wet coarse dirt. This means liquids with solid components, in our case, cornflakes with milk. That is a big challenge even for some wet and dry vacuum cleaners. Nevertheless, the FC7 masters this task reasonably well. Admittedly, the rollers plucked the flakes partially apart and spread them around the room, so you definitely have to go over them again. In the end, however, the cornflakes are all disposed of after a few corrective strokes. The same applies if we increase the difficulty and spread a load of canned corn on the floor. It is a bit shaky and rumbles quite a bit, and you have to go over it quite often, but in the end the corn disappeared. And where did they disappear to? Some appliances have a hard time getting the coarse dirt into the tank. The FC7 is different. The corn kernels actually end up there. And this happens despite the fact that the appliance has no suction power. You can see that there is a bit of a buildup at the entrance and maybe a few stray kernels here and there, but most of it ends up where it should go. On the whole, this can be called satisfying. Level 3, done. Since the FC7 has performed this well so far, we'll let it go even further for a chance at our boss level, raw egg with its shell. The raw egg itself is usually not an issue. The real challenge is the shell. And indeed, this is exactly where the problem lies. The goo is picked up well. But don't be fooled by the first impressions of the shell. Although it is flattened by the rollers and delivered to the back, it does not make it all the way into the tank due to its complexity. As a result, pieces of the shell keep falling back onto the floor and you scatter them all over the room. Therefore, boss level, only partially completed. This concludes the vacuum cleaner-oriented test series, and we can definitely say that the FC7 has done well, especially when you consider that it is not a wet and dry vacuum cleaner, but only a hard floor cleaner. However, as many of you want to use such a cleaning device not only for larger, but above all for smaller and everyday kind of dirt, we will make a short excursion on this topic. So let's start with level 1, mud. Tough and sticky mud is not always easy, even for many wet and dry vacuum cleaners. However, the FC7 generally copes well with this. The only problem is the bridge in the middle between the rollers. Even with thick liquids, you could see that this area was not cleaned properly, and therefore a streak of dirt always remained. Here with the mud, the device takes it up a notch. As the pile of mud is high enough to reach the device itself, dirt is piled up here, so that from now on, a trail of mud is left in the middle with every stroke you make. In the end, we still have to say that the device can cope with the mud. That's why we also say, level 1, done. But we have to emphasize the problem with the bridge in the middle at this point, because it can get annoying over time. Let's move on to level 2, dried up liquids. What we have here is a ketchup stain that we left to dry up. The result? If you go over it slowly and let the rollers work on the stain again and again, it's generally done quickly. With this in mind, level 2, done. And now for the king of everyday messes, level 3, a bit of it all. So a little ketchup here, a little yogurt there, a little something powdery in between, a few cookie crumbs and some fluffy stuff. Especially with children, it can quickly look like this or something similar under the dining table. The FC7 seems absolutely unimpressed when looking at the result. All dirt particles are picked up in just a few strokes and transported into the tank. So the bottom line is, level 3, done. This test shows that the FC7 is not just a hard floor cleaner, but can also do some vacuum cleaning work. At least for everyday dirt, and even for a bit more than that. You can save yourself the trouble of pre-vacuuming in the future and simply use the FC7. Despite its designation as a hard floor cleaner, and the fact that it does not vacuum, the appliance comes very close to being a wet and dry vacuum cleaner. Maybe not quite as good as the top appliances from Tenneco, but still very close. The same also applies to other surfaces such as tiles. Everything is usually done with just a few strokes. However, you also have the dirt streak problem here, which can be quite annoying. When it comes to cleaning the tile gaps, the FC7 is actually quite good. The rollers lie directly on the floor, and you can therefore roll into the joints. In the end, there are still a few residues to be seen, but the result is significantly better than with most wet and dry vacuum cleaners. And as a reminder, you can find the link to the Karcher FC7 under this video in the description. And if the video was helpful to you, please leave us a like and subscribe to our channel. In terms of handling, the FC7 is one of the best devices we reviewed. This is mainly due to what we consider to be its unique operating principle. The fact that the two pairs of rollers work in opposite directions creates something of a hover effect, allowing the base plate to glide like a hovercraft. The handle is then used to nudge the plate to where you want it to go. If you want, you can even let the plate slide to the left and right, away from the direction of the roller. All in all, the FC7 has the most pleasant and smoothest handling of the devices we reviewed and offers a great deal of maneuverability and flexibility, despite its weight of 4.4 kilograms. The FC7 also leaves nothing to be desired in terms of its operation. In addition to the power switch, there is also a button for switching between cleaning levels 1 and 2, as well as a button for the third cleaning level, which Karcher itself calls the boost function. All in all, the FC7 offers a lot more setting options than most competitor devices, and is also one of the quietest devices in our test, with a noise level of around 58 decibels. When it comes to getting underneath the furniture, Karcher has come up with something special for its FC7. First of all, the base plate is only about 7 to 8 centimeters high, so normally you should be able to get under a bed or something similar without any problems. But what Karcher has also done is to leave a gap at the bottom of the handle, so that you can get the handle down as far as possible. This makes the appliance flatter than any other cleaner we've seen so far, and allows you to reach almost anywhere you want to go. High-hanging furniture such as this wash basin is definitely no problem, but it can also reach deep under the couch, of course. What is an issue with both hard floor cleaners and wet and dry vacuum cleaners is the extent to which they can clean the edges. Our test with cappuccino powder showed that the Karcher appliances are superior to the wet and dry vacuum cleaners in this respect. Due to the system, the Karcher rollers reach right up to the wall and can therefore work right into the joint. As a result, the powder is largely removed from the corner. The situation is different if we use something sticky like ketchup instead of cappuccino powder. The roller can work right into the joint, and after a few strokes, it is reasonably clean, but some ketchup residue is still visible in the corner. You should also be careful not to get too close to the wall. If dirt has accumulated on the edge of the roller, it is often smeared on the wall. Nevertheless, we have a better result here than with the wet and dry vacuum cleaners, which generally don't even get that far. What is a bit annoying when working with the FC7 is that you have to empty the dirt water tank relatively often. In fact, it seems a bit strange when you look at the bare figures. The small fresh water tank holds 400 milliliters, and the much larger dirty water tank is only supposed to hold 200 milliliters? Something's not quite right, or is it? In fact, this appliance is a little deceptive. The dirt water tank may look large, but a closer look reveals that it is incredibly shallow. The effective capacity is therefore much smaller than you would initially think. Either way, 200 milliliters is not that good compared to most of the other devices in our test. There should have been a little more capacity. At least the appliance has an indicator light to let you know when the tank is full, so you don't have to monitor it yourself. To ensure that the FC7 can do its job for as long as possible, it is of course important to clean it regularly. This is particularly important for this type of appliance, as inadequate cleaning can also lead to odors and mold. To prevent this, the FC7 even has a complete cleaning procedure, which we would like to go through with you here. The whole thing starts with the so-called self-cleaning. To do this, you first grab the cleaning tray and place the appliance in it. It is important to make sure that the dirty water tank is empty. Then fill the fresh water tank up to the 200 milliliter mark and insert it into the appliance. Then press and hold the start button and the cleaning level switch for 3 seconds and the self-cleaning process begins. After about 2 minutes, the cleaning process is complete and the appliance stops automatically. Now grab the parking station, which is the lid of the cleaning tray, so to speak, and prepare it for the next steps. Then press the button to release the dirt water tank. Remove the appliance from the cleaning tray and place it on the parking station. The tank remains in the cleaning tray. The next step is to press the second button and remove the so-called hair filters. These are also placed in the cleaning tray. Finally, the cleaning rollers are removed. As you can clearly see from the rollers, the self-cleaning process has not done too much. We can still see all kinds of discoloration and even coarse dirt on the edges. That is a bit of a shame. At least the self-cleaning could have gotten the coarse dirt out. Either way, the rollers are now also placed in the cleaning tray, and then it goes off to the sink. Here, we first empty the dirty water tank via the opening provided. If there is some coarse dirt in there, you can spill the tank into the toilet. Then wash both parts of the tank under running water. The next step is the hair filters. There is a cleaning tool supplied for these. But of course, you can also use running water instead. Finally, it is time to clean the rollers. Rinse them thoroughly and press as much dirt out of the roller as possible. If that is not enough, you can also put the rollers into the washing machine at 60 degrees Celsius. The base plate also got a bit of dirt on it. You can simply wipe it with a cloth. All in all, the cleaning procedure is helpful. Despite the less effective self-cleaning, it makes the overall maintenance of the device much easier. It should also be emphasized that you usually can reach everything pretty easily with Karcher devices. We also had some devices that were angled in a way that you simply couldn't get all the corners clean. That's not the case with the FC7. Instead, it's easy to do. Let's come to the conclusion. With the Karcher FC7 cordless, you get a hard floor cleaner from the higher price segment that performs well in terms of its cleaning capabilities. Basically, you have to say that the FC7 tries to combine two worlds: wet and dry vacuum cleaning, with which you can tackle even heavy soiling. On the other hand, hard floor cleaning, which usually is meant for lighter soiling. It still provides a better handling experience and is better at getting underneath furniture and into edges. Of course, this is a huge balancing act that Karcher is attempting here, but the bottom line is that this has been a success, more or less. The FC7 doesn't quite overtake the Tenneco wet and dry vacuum cleaners, but it is a high-quality all-rounder that offers the best of both worlds, apart from a few compromises. So if you are prepared to spend a few bucks more, you have a top device for everyday use, and a little on top of that. Alright, we reviewed this hard floor cleaner for you. If you like it, then take a look at the video description below. There you can find all the links. Otherwise, I'd be delighted if you'd stay tuned. Our Endcard will follow with a few interesting video suggestions.